Welcome back to my garage. Sorry for the lack of updates, but there hasn't really been happening anything with the Bigbore stroker. First I really needed to clean the garage, so I did that and I already turned it into a bit of a mess again, but it's a lot better than it was before because it was getting impossible to walk in here. After that I did the TNT build. I have a lot of footage on that, but I haven't had time to edit yet. And then my car started messing with me, so I had to figure out what was up with that. Then I got the man cold, and this is the first day that I've been better again. So now I have 1 week to get this thing back together. Next weekend going to be some test and tune oval racing, and I don't want to miss that. So the plan is I need to this is what happens. The welded on stuff here for my bolt holes cracked, so I'm going to have my friend weld the adapter plate here, weld it straight onto the case, and hopefully it won't fall off anymore. And while I have it apart anyway, I'm going to try and fix the balance factor. I've already started preparing a little bit here. Let me get this stuff out of the way. Here's my crank. I removed the bearings. I measured the end of the con rod and the piston. So now I just need to find the correct counterweight. There's a little problem here because this side, it's too heavy already. So I need to add counterweight on this side. So then I remembered I have some of these wheel balancing weights. So I figure if I put them on the opposite side of where the pin is, it should work, give me a reasonably correct value. So let me show you my balancing rig. It's top notch, of course. There we go. This is I think this is what NASA uses still for balancing their cranks. These are wood. I'm not going to explain in a lot of detail how this works because there's other videos on that. I will leave a link in the description on two-stroke stuffing's video on this subject. But the idea is that I need to add weight until this doesn't move in whatever position I put it. And as you can see now, it wants to go the rod piston side wants to go down. It's too heavy. So if I add some weight here, then hopefully I can get it balanced. Now I obviously don't want these weights permanently attached, so I'll just put some of this masking tape on the crank, like that. According to my calculations, I'm going to need about 25 grams because I've already done this one time before. And if my method was correct then that should be my value. I think this is 10 grams, but it says 10 on it, but I'm not sure. I'm going to check. Yep, that's 10 grams. So if I put that on there, this side is still too heavy, so I want to put on another 10 grams. Still heavy. Maybe another 10 grams then. Still that way. So apparently my level sucks, because as you can see now this side is too heavy. I leveled it with this thing, but good news is I think we're pretty close anyway. But let me try and get this thing level. Okay, both of them are level now, so let's try this again. Yeah, the side is a little bit heavy, looks like. I'm going to call it close enough, because it's not really an exact science anyway. So I added 30 grams here, or I'm saying that, but let me measure them. 31.4 grams. I have my little calculator here. So that gives me a balance factor of 11.7%, so let's say 12%. And I know the stock factor is around 20%, 21, 20, somewhere around that. So the rod side of the crank is a bit heavy, it seems. Let me see how we can change that. 50%, add 200 grams, remove 200 grams, 12%, 50%, 26 centimeters, 26, I'm not sure how I did these calculations, 25%, no, 9 cubic centimeters, 1 hole. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. The idea is I have this Husqvarna 250 crank here, and this has a balance factor of around 50 or 55 or something. I don't remember the exact value. But what I'm going to do it like this one. Drill holes on this side, because it's too expensive to fill the other side with carbide or tungsten or whatever it's called. Always on a budget. So I'll be drilling holes somewhere around here and here in both sides, and hopefully that will solve my problem. Now I have one problem here. As you can see, the crank is welded, the pin is welded, so I can't take it apart, so I'm going to have to figure out some way to keep the chips out of the bearing. But I think some clay and yeah, just some clay, that will be fine. So yeah, I'm going to do some calculating. I'll be right back. Okay, so I did the math, and what I was calculating was correct. I put 4 holes in that are 24 millimeters in diameter. So 1 hole here, 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 here. That should get me pretty close to 50%, probably a little lower. Ideally, you want to remove the weight right here where the piston pin is. So it will probably end up being, I don't know, just guessing, but maybe around 40–45%. Okay, so when I'm drilling this, I obviously don't want any chips or anything to get into the bearing here. I'm going to try and seal it off with this clay, or whatever it's called, Play-Doh or something like that. Just hope that I can get it out of there so I don't have a bearing full of Play-Doh later, but I think this is going to be easier to remove than a bunch of chips. There we go. Starting out with a little pilot hole, or a spot hole. Now I need to kind of watch out what I'm doing here, because I don't have a lot of clearance here, but this Should get me at least through the first web. I'll have to flip it around when I'm going to do the other one, because I don't have long enough drills. Okay, so got my holes in. Now it looks like the clay did a reasonable job protecting everything. Let me try and clean this up. So I cleaned it up a little bit. Looks pretty good, I think. Maybe even better than I expected. So I've cheated a little bit because I already checked, and this is the weight that I need to hang from here to get it to balance. Stays put like that, like that. Maybe it's a little bit light. I added the washer here, make it a little bit heavier, see what happens. I'm going to call this close enough. (83.3 grams). Okay, so before we had minus 31.4 grams and a balance factor of 11.7. 83.4, see what happens. It's a bit lower than I expected, but it's at 33.6%. The stock rank is 21-ish, so at least I'm past that, and I guess there's not much more to do now than put it back together and actually test it. I am going to leave the holes open for now. I was thinking of filling them with cork or something like they did back in the day. Maybe some plastic would be better. I do have a plastic bar that would be perfect for this, but I don't know how it's going to react with E85. So to be on the safe side, I'm just going to leave them open for now, then nothing can fall out, and if I lose a horsepower or two, then I'll survive. I just need to get it back together before this weekend, so the holes are going to stay open for now. So yep, going to put it back together tomorrow. So I don't have any more time today, but I think this is gonna be the end of this video, so I have something to upload, because I know a lot of people have been waiting. So yep, thanks for watching and stay tuned, and see you next time. Bye.